So one thing I wanted to share with you guys about this week's episode, the hunger, is that, as you know, for most of us when we're writing, we're often inspired by like the strangest things, right? So this is the second story where I featured, I'm not going to tell you what I featured because I don't know if you've listened to it yet. But there's something in this one that I have in one from season 1. They have nothing to do with each other, but I kind of want to see if some of our longtime listeners notice. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there is something that repeats, and so it's kind of a theme that I think I really enjoy, and it's not what you're thinking. It's not the obvious. It's not murder, because we all know I love murder. No, it's like an object that shows up in 2 of my stories, so I want to see if you guys can find it. But that's not why I'm talking to you. What I want to tell you is that the strangest things inspire us sometimes. So in this story this week, there is a junk shop. It happens early on. This isn't a spoiler. Y'all are fine, so don't get mad at me. So there is a junk shop in this story. Jeremy and I live in Texas, as you guys know, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And so there is this really cool area near us. It's a little further north from us, but it's still considered DFW, and it's called McKinney. And I love Old Town McKinney. So a lot of Dallas, if you guys have visited or if you live here, a lot of it's just really new and built up and really like metropolitan. And I like that, but it doesn't always feel like it has a lot of soul. And so I get that feeling of like atmosphere and soul from usually like the older parts of town. Like if you go to like old places in Texas, you can really feel the history. Like, shit went down, basically, right? Like, you can kind of tell. In McKinney, I wouldn't necessarily have that, shit went down. It's not like you're thinking there were gunslingers there. But there is this really cool Old Town McKinney square, and there's just a lot of cute little culture there. There's shops that have these ceramic frogs. Some number of years ago, they got together and they painted and built these. Maybe it was an artist, maybe it was a community thing. I really have no idea. Point being, there's all these really awesome frogs, just huge, small, colorful. Outside the shop, there is this little wine place. There's just all this cute stuff in Old Town McKinney. And we love going up there for the farmer's market. Jeremy and I love the McKinney farmer's market. It's just cute. It's just really cute. You can get carrots with the stuff on them, and they look like they just came out of the ground, and it's just adorable, right? It's really picturesque. You feel like you're in like a movie. You're like, oh, I'm wearing my sundress. I'm buying fresh vegetables, blah, blah, blah. It's all nice. But there's also this really weird-ass junk shop. That was the inspiration for the story, is this junk shop. In my story, I mentioned that the junk shop burned down and then they moved it, and you can't even tell that they moved it, and that is literally what happened. It had burned down, it moved like a few streets over, and it is this just weird, sprawling thing. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. But what was really funny was, just like I mentioned in my story, in the old junk shop, there were all these like weird doorways and like rickety stairs, and the floors would like slope. There's all these sections in the junk shop where it's like these miniature like curated stores. Like there's like vendor stalls, except they're not stalls. That is what is in here. Like the floors, like here's the thing that gets me. I know this is probably going to sound crazy to you guys. You're like, why is she so obsessed with these floors? Okay, but because honestly, it's just crazy. If your junk shop burned down and you moved into a new store and you built this entire new storefront, how did they recreate the entire thing? Like, it literally feels like they just like picked it up and moved it. Like there's like sloping cracked floors, like the rickety stairs, like the whole thing, it's there, and I don't understand it. But it's just intriguing to me. Like the stuff like that just gets my attention and intrigues me. Those are the things that kind of like stay in and percolate and become part of that secret sauce that is what writing comes from. It's like cooking. Like there's all these ingredients and they come together and hopefully they make a dish you like, and sometimes the dish sucks. Those are the ones that don't make it in the podcast. But in this case, this is one of the ingredients, this junk shop. It just really has stuck with me. And so a lot of times when you're writing, you answer a what if. Like you ask yourself a what if, and then you answer it. Like, what is up with that junk shop? Like, what if there are just these mysterious objects in there that have these stories? And what are those stories? And why are we so drawn to these junk shops? Because some of us, me, and I know other people who are into this too, like we just love going and looking at the things and imagining their history and imagining their owners and imagining like how they can fit into our lives. And I don't know if you've ever done that, where you walk into a store and you see something and you picture how it would fit into your life, but also what would your life be like with that object in it, right? Like there's like the fantasy of like, oh, if I only had this perfect couch, or in my case, the perfect kitchen, I would have people over all the time and I would entertain and my life would suddenly be more social or whatever, right? My point is that not only do you think about how it fits in your life, you start thinking about how you can fit your life around that object. And so when I pictured this junk shop and when I pictured this story and I pictured like a story about an object in there and about this woman who is drawn to these objects and I'm not going to tell you what happens because I don't want it to be a spoiler, but you know, obviously her life has changed or else there would be no story, so I'm not really giving anything away there. So sometimes that's where these things come from. Sometimes that's how the secret sauce works. Sometimes something just gets in your head and you have to get it out, and you get it out in the form of a story. And sometimes it takes longer. There's sometimes stuff that goes in and it percolates and it takes years to come out in anything that's coherent at all. But just imagine it's like your dreams. Like at night, you take the things that happen during the day and you take your feelings about those things and they turn into this dramatic, incoherent dreamscape that you have. And stories are the same thing. They're really just the things that you take in and that you're trying to process and make sense of. And hopefully they're coming out in a way that you can enjoy and feel like you've gotten something out. And that in my case, I hope that it's something where my readers and listeners are getting something out of it too. So anyway, that's my story about this week's story. I hope you like it. And I really hope you like the story itself. So thanks everybody. Have a great week.